pass that to you.
So we're assuming you guys passed all that test. That's why you did.
It's great fruit.
So guys, just tell us a bit about yourselves, introduce yourselves, and what you like being part of the AR.
Hi there, my name is William Alloway. I am major on board the GC32. I come from a skill sailing background, 49er, and I've been with the Academy for 5 months now. And it's a great opportunity to kind of learn about various skill sailing. I'll show it to Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil Hunter. I'm the skipper of the Rover BAR Academy. I used to sail 49ers for the last kind of 3 or 4 years, and I've been with the Academy since February this year. So I was one of the first people to be selected for the Academy.
Hi, I'm Rob Bunce. I've been with the Academy since June. I've got a slightly different background from everyone else. I've come from sort of yacht sailing and offshore sailing. It's a fantastic opportunity, especially in the UK. Got great facilities down in Portsmouth at the gym and other things, and great assets to use. And yeah, it's amazing for anyone of our age to be involved.
Hi Ron, Andrew Walsh. I'm actually the coach of the team. So I got involved with the project just before Christmas last year. So it's a very new BAR Academy. It hasn't been around all that long, so it's been very interesting sort of being part of setting it all up. The selection of obviously the sailors. We've got to a stage where we've got 10 sailors now on the books. We always sort of aim to have sort of between 8 and 12 in the Academy at any one time. And yeah, it's just it's a very interesting project. I think it is, as the guys have already said, an amazing opportunity. Hopefully something that will, lead on to sort of benefiting our sort of senior guys in terms of the America's Cup, but also just sort of British sailing in general, the Olympic guys, the big boat sailing, offshore sailing, etc., etc.
So it's part of a squad format. How much crew rotation do you guys do per regatta, per day, in training sessions overall? Just to give us an idea of how different it is sailing with different people.
And from the coach's point of view, we do rotate, particularly as we're so new. We've done a lot of rotation in the early events. Part of that is getting to know all the different sailors. Obviously, these are quite new boats as well. Foiling in general, it's very new. Obviously, the America's Cup. To be fair, foiling's actually been around for an awful long time, but it's only recently that the materials have led to sort of boats that can sort of be manufactured and built to foil so successfully as the GC32s here. So we've done a lot of rotation, just everybody needing to learn to sail boats. Once we can sort of do that, once the boat handling gets sort of sharp, at that point we can start, as a coach certainly, to put the sailors into different sort of combinations. And our sort of end goal is very much performance driven. We want to succeed and win the Youth America's Cup next year in Bermuda. So we're using certainly the GC32 as our sort of platform for developing our team. So as I say, we have to try people with different combinations, but it'd be interesting to see what the other guys have to say to your question.
Yeah, I think it's good to have lots of rotation. It certainly keeps it competitive within the squad, but it's definitely a healthy atmosphere. No one feels completely under threat, but you have to work hard to keep your position on the boat. I think it's also quite good because we've got quite a varied squad, so it's often really good to see people's different opinions and different roles. It's really useful.
Yeah, as these two have said, we've been doing a reasonable amount of rotation, but I think, obviously, as Walshy said, one of our main goals is to win the Youth America's Cup next year in Bermuda. So I think just to find the strongest team that we have and work on different combinations, we've got to rotate sailors to work on that. So although we're aiming to do well in the Extreme Sailing Series, we are really using it as a platform to win the Youth America's Cup in Bermuda next year.
I think finally, we are a team, and the rotation helps us sort of build on ourselves and the team getting together. So yeah, it's kind of another reason why we rotate.
So you mentioned crew work and communication before. How important is that in racing, especially in the extremes, being such short races?
So if anybody who's seen extreme racing, it's really short, really high intensity. Especially in sporting boats, it's really important to have clear, concise communication. So everyone involved has their roles. We all know exactly what we're saying and when to talk and when not to talk. That's kind of one of the crucial things of being on board. One of the things we've learned over the last couple of days is kind of when not to talk as well. Yeah, communication is key, especially when you're going 30 knots around the race course. You don't have long to make a snap decision. So it's all about working as a unit.
Yeah, I think working as a team and the crew work involved in sailing these boats is absolutely key. On these short courses especially, like it's just about everything, all the boat, like a lot of it is just down to boat handling on these courses. So that's something we've been working on from the very start. Obviously we're a fairly new team compared to these other experienced teams, but we've worked really hard this summer to kind of catch up on our boat handling and our crew work. So yeah, it's something we've been working really hard on.
Yeah, all good. So how much training do you do on the water? Let's start with on the water, just in a normal week.
So in the GC32 it's actually quite hard because the boat is usually travelling in between events, so we've actually only had 2 opportunities in the whole year to train on GC32 outside of the series. But we've got some foiling Acro 20s down in the UK, so we use those to sort of help our communication and teamwork and general foiling knowledge and get a bit of racing in as well, so that's been really good.
And what about off the water? Gym, campaign, how much time do you guys spend overseas, travelling? Just give us a bit of an insight into the life of a professional sailor.
So obviously the gym's a massive thing. Like these boats are super physical, and the guys have been working really hard from the beginning on their fitness. Like more and more of these boats are becoming like a young person's game, and physicality is like key to the whole thing. So generally the guys are doing 2 sessions in the gym, kind of 5 or 6 days a week. We've got some great staff, support staff at BAR, which help us with our programming, and we do a few gym sessions in there as well during the week. So obviously everybody has kind of different stuff they do apart from, the academy's not a full-time thing, so people are at uni and people are doing Olympic campaigns and stuff, but we try to come together like a couple of times a week and all do a couple of gym sessions together at the base in Portsmouth. Yeah, we've got great support in the gym and stuff.
So what's it like being part of Land Rover BAR? You know, what facilities do you have access to that you probably wouldn't have otherwise?
So we have a world-class facility in Portsmouth, where the senior team train. Obviously there we have a specialised gym. As Neil said, we have specialised S&C coaches providing a world-class training programme for us. So we'll work on everything from our cardio through to our strength. We'll have a rigid programme throughout the week. Obviously Land Rover is a great sponsor. We will be able to do as well then. They provide us with the travel with the boats. So yeah.
Andrew, what are the boats like compared to the old Extreme 40s? Like, what's the difference, the major difference, apart from the obvious of foiling?
So they're obviously slightly smaller. I mean, it's such a big difference though, the fact that they are up on hydrofoils now. The Extreme 40s are great fun. They've obviously sort of raced here for the last sort of 2 or 3 years. I'm sure some of you have seen the racing. And in lots of ways, the racing is still pretty similar. And you're kind of right, obviously we are up on foils, which does mean there's a lot of new skills, certainly on the boat handling front. It's really added a much bigger sort of level of physicality. For example, if you think about it, the boat must weigh about 1,500 kilograms, sort of 1.5 tons. The foil lifts that up out of the water. At points we're asking sort of Neil and the guys to basically pull that foil back into the water. So you can imagine the forces involved. Speed-wise, they are a lot quicker. That's one of the big differences. So again, we're still sailing on these incredibly tight sort of small courses. So when you have two boats, you know, one on port, one on starboard, you know, am I going to cross? Am I not going to cross? It's you know, it's pretty full on. But they're, you know, they're a completely carbon fibre boat, so everything is. They're very much an optimised, you know, race boat. Obviously not quite to the level of America's Cup, but for a boat that, you know, if you had the right amount of money and, you know, 5 sort of friends to go sailing with, anybody can obviously go and buy one. And that is the nice thing, you know, have a couple of practices. They're pretty full on. But, you know, it's such a great boat for, you know, anybody could sort of jump in one with a bit of practice, and you could go foiling really quickly, racing in these tight, confined spaces. I have a few more days practice, perhaps.
Yeah, so you guys talk about, you know, the tight racing and the short race course, so it's stadium style kind of thing. I want to know what all your opinions are on it, because it's becoming more and more popular in all styles of sailing. So what are the pros and the cons, and what do you think about it?
So for me, it's some of the most fun racing I've ever done. So my background was sort of in the Olympic sort of sailing initially, sort of multi-hull, so sort of tornadoes and sort of macros, things like that. But I then did the Extreme 40 series for sort of 4 or 5 seasons, sort of helming and crewing on that. So that was me sort of stepping into the stadium racing. And I'm a bit of a traditionalist, so I think my Olympic sailing, you know, I like at least a 45-minute race. I like a 10-race series with a discard. But nothing beats this style of racing for just fun. It really is, you know, in my opinion, the best teams always win. And if it's a windy event, that's often the best boat handling team. You get lighter winds, we get sort of crazy wind shifts, yet the top sailors are still the teams who come to the front. So it's definitely, you know, it isn't luck, it is very much skill, slightly different set of skills, but a lot of fun.
I guess the only real cons are sometimes the wind is a bit affected by what you have around you. I mean, we saw the America's Cup in New York, which is quite crazy because of the big buildings. I mean, we get a bit of that on some of our courses, but some of it just adds to the fun of the racing. But it's pretty amazing to be able to hear the crowd actually have an impact on the racing, which is something that you've never really got before. And it really makes it brilliant with the TV coverage as well, because then it really brings sailing to the masses a bit more. You can actually see it happening rather than like people go out sailing and you wait for them to come back to find out the results. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. And what about like Sydney, the race course here, the specific one underneath Kirribilli? Are there any, like, have you found anything to be positive or negative, or have you been able to get out there much because of the wind?
Yeah, we've been out for a couple of training sessions so far. It's been pretty varied. I mean, on Sunday, there's been a lot of traffic about it, generally. Like Sunday, been mental.
Welcome to Sydney.
Yeah, had to keep our eyes peeled because it was like 10, 15 knots foiling around Sydney Harbour with thousands of other boats around it, so that was quite interesting. But yeah, no, it's a pretty cool place to sail. Yeah, never been here before, so it was pretty sick to get out in the harbour.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us about some of the spills. Has there been many things that have gone wrong on the boats?
So yeah, these boats are pretty fast. We haven't had too many disasters, I would say. We haven't had any disasters. We've had a couple of close calls, particularly had one in Lisbon, which is our last event, where we came around a bar, it was probably blowing about 18 knots at this point. Came around the bar, went for the deploy on the code 0, and the bow was just kept on going down until the front beam was underwater and the rudders were out in the air. And everyone was kind of like, right, now what do we do? Luckily, with the sharp wit of Sam, we peeled the code 0 off and it came back down steadily, but we're very, very close to capsizing. I can think of other incidences with Team Portugal in Russia, where there was a cardinal buoy on the mark, and they bore away around the mark, and almost got their code 0 ripped in half, as their kite shows a picture actually of their code 0 brushing a cardinal marker as they came down. And if you look on the front tramp, we often have guests, And it's quite comical really because the guest is kind of hanging onto the trampoline as the boat is kind of tilting at a 90-degree angle. Luckily no one was hurt, but in Madeira, another incident was Red Bull, skipped by Rover BAR, a legend in his own right. He did a slingshot start, which ended up in him demasting a lingy, as he thought it was a gap, which wasn't really a gap. Ended up crashing into them, and yeah, their mast came down. Luckily no one was hurt again. Yeah, these things do happen.
So it's pretty gnarly.
Every event we've basically, there's been a crash. What I can remember, SAP had a crash last time, Portuguese had a crash, you have these big holes in the boat. I mean, every boat has a boat captain, so the boats are craned out of the water, we have a massive hole in it. Normally sorted out over a long night shift, re-glassed up and patched up, so you're ready to go racing the next day. But a bit of a jury fix is they'll just whack a big sticker over it if you're racing, so you can continue the racing for that day.
Yeah. No. So if you're still at uni or trying to hold down a job, like how do you balance the sailing and the travelling and all that sort of stuff? How much time do you actually spend away? Like how much have you spent away this year?
So I'm at university. I'm also doing a 49 campaign. I'm doing obviously BAR stuff. So my life's pretty quite organised to make sure I don't overdo it or get my work done. But it's all about having a good relationship with teachers. I mean, you can imagine they don't have a great relationship with me, so I'm not really there too much. But yeah, being on the right page with coaches as well, just to make sure you get to the events. Obviously, spend a lot of time on planes and public transport, so making sure you get your work done in those places. Sometimes not to the best standard, but sometimes sailing just has to come first.
Yeah, so I'm not actually at university, and I'm not doing a 14-hour campaign anymore. However, so I've basically been doing just the BAR Academy for the last kind of few months. Kind of stopped 49er sailing in the summer, but I recently actually got invited to join the senior BAR team for the America's Cup. Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'll be moving to Bermuda. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
I work and maintain a 40-foot race yacht. We're quite near our base in Portsmouth, so I have quite a good relationship with the owner, and the sailing I do with this definitely helps the sailing I do with that, so I think it works quite nicely both ways. We're basically away at least for a couple of weeks every month, so it's quite difficult in some respects, but it's definitely upskilling in every area, so it's really good for that.
Neil, just rewind a little bit. So you're now promoted to the senior BAR team. Like, how did you get the call? What happened? And what does that mean for you now?
So basically, I've been doing this academy stuff since kind of, well, I did the first event in March this year, and I've been doing it. So I've been doing all the extreme sailing series this year, and then kind of did pretty well in some of the fitness tests for the academy and stuff. And then got kind of asked to do, so one of the S&C coaches at the base kind of got me in to do the senior team grinding test, and I did reasonably well in that. And then, so kind of following that, I got to do some more, I got invited to go sailing with the senior guys on the test boat in the Solent, did some 2-boat sailing in the Solent with those guys, which was like really cool, like, yeah, it was awesome to be part of. So I guess that was kind of a sailing trial really for the senior team. And then I also had another fitness test, and then kind of a few weeks ago I got asked if I'd come to Bermuda in January. So yeah, pretty stoked for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, so is there any other questions from you guys about racing, campaigning, anything from these guys? Because they're obviously pretty professional at it.
Just design. Just wondering what mechanism do you have inside the boat to drop the foil, the operative foil? What's inside?
We basically just a purchase system. So it's like 4 blocks and then a couple of clutches.
Four blocks. And is there? I presume there's supports all the way down through the hull.
So the foil only touches the boat at two bearings basically, so right at the top of the deck and then right at the bottom of the helm there's two sort of cylindrical bearings.
Right.
So
And
what's
how
your-
much force do you need to put on? I saw one of the boys pulling it up or pulling it down. Have you measured the force in kilos or just pure grunt and that gets it up and down?
So you can add rate to the foil to make it easier to drop using sort of the water, I don't know, measured force. It's pretty difficult.
A lot.
Neil's very strong, sometimes he struggles.
1 Neil.
Neil is the ideal force.
Thank you.
So what angle can you rate the foils at?
I think we've got maybe 8 degrees of max forwards to back, so as the guys, we don't know it exactly, but it's between 6 and 8 degrees is our maximum from sort of a neutral, which is providing obviously no lift to the boat. We can then sort of add approximately sort of 5 or 6 degrees of rake, which is by, if you imagine we have a foil underneath us, by raking it forwards. That's the same as sort of a wind. We're basically adding rake, as we call it, and the boat flies up higher. Boat goes faster and faster. We're creating too much lift. So normally it's Neil or whoever's in the bow roll. He's then got a little worm drive, we call it. Sort of basically he can pull this rope, and that will either add or reduce the lift. But the faster you go, you take away some of that lift. So we reduce the drag, and the boat just goes faster and faster.
And the foils on the rudders, you actually set them and forget, or you're actually adjusting them?
So upwind probably set and forget, but then they get used a bit of fine tune, particularly for the downwind. So there's sort of an upwind setting and a downwind setting, and that's sort of wind speed, I guess, related. You'd also tweak it for sea state. But to be honest, it's the racing that we're doing on the extreme circuit. It's so action-packed, it's so short course. But yeah, you don't have much time. You can control it, but it's sort of either an A or B position, really.
So Lingy haven't been helpful in coming good with all the computerised equipment on board?
I'm sure they've got a few. They're certainly never slow, and I think these guys, it's often a bit of a race who can pop first, who can get up on foils, and actually these guys have developed their own pretty good techniques. So I think probably we're one of the quickest up onto foils, but Lingy is certainly no slouch.
So the predicted winds on Thursday is 15 to 25 from the north. Friday is pretty quiet, and Saturday, Sunday Friday is from the south, same sort of wind. Saturday's quiet and Sunday's northeast 15s. Knowing the course now, as you've sailed a couple of times, or near where you're going to be sailing for the arena event, not so much the harbour event, you're comfortable with that sorts of conditions?
I think that fits Neil's standard fitness, hit the gym.
Yeah, I mean, as what she says, we've been working hard in the gym, and I think a lot of it does just come down to like a boat handle off in those conditions, and I think that's kind of, I'd say it's our speciality almost. Like we've been working super hard on our boat handling as well this summer. Our routines are really down, so yeah, I think that'll suit us quite nicely actually. Yeah.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when you're handling the mainsail, and obviously I'll see it firsthand on the weekend, is it anything like a conventional mainsail, or do you got a total new way of thinking about it?
So like on a dinghy or opening closing back of sail, it's kind of like having on the foils, but on these boats if you use the main, it basically powers up, get more twisted. And we have two controls on these boats, for the main, basically opening and closing power, we have the traveller and the main sheet. The helm holds the main sheet, and the main sheet is basically a grinder. To position the main sheet is a grinder for the helm, and they also pay the traveller. So in some respect they are very similar to your conventional boat, but when you're on the foil, obviously the apparent wind's a lot further forwards, so you're playing the main to that, so you're shooting a lot harder, because you're basically almost, the wind's so far in front, you basically need to get sail like a nice flat wing when you're on the foils. So yeah, it's kind of
Interesting. And your communication, have you got, well, what's the brand of communication you've got?
So we've sort of followed, so it's interesting, you see the World Series going to the America's Cup again, and we've got a complete mixture. So a lot of teams are running, it's the forwards, I forget who it is, some people run basically comms gear. Our team use it in training. Sometimes we haven't been using it in racing. Certainly in the America's Cup we will. Ourselves as a team, we're not allowed, the notice of race essentially prohibits us from using that. So yeah, the guys talked about, Will talking about knowing when not to say anything, having a really clear conversation. It is all, very much make sure you're looking at the person you're trying to talk to, nice, clear, concise, with good volume. It's sort of old-fashioned in that respect.
Yeah, I think the one way we know if someone's heard something is that we would copy everything. So if, Chris, for example, said, I'll go for a jibe here, everyone will be like, okay, copy that. And that way we all know exactly what's going on board. Basically, if there's too much talking going on board, it makes it really hard for people to do their jobs properly. And that's often the downfall of the team. So everyone has to stick to their roles.
Well, thank you.
I believe the 32s, when you're foiling, they give a screeching or a light loud pitch noise, so that just about kills.
Yeah, it's really hard.
Your lip reading, really.
There's a little bit of that, and I think that's where, to start with, the sort of your Lingies, your Amans, they've sailed together for so many years on this type of boat, but just sailing together for so long. And I think that's becoming a strength of these guys, is that now they've done sort of X amount of time together, that when Chris is about to say something, Will know what he's about to say, and I think that's the evolution of a lot of top teams. You already know what's about to get said. And the nice thing, everybody's background, they're all really good, even dinghy sailors, big boat sailors. So you look at the course, so we're approaching a lay line. So Rob knows we're about to set up for a jibe, so it all becomes...
So the tactician and the helmsman basically are controlling the overview of missing out on everybody else being in the way.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the lighter the wing gets, then the more people can input, and that's where Will's sort of saying, actually, that's a danger. Too many sort of cooks sort of spoiling whatever the saying's meant to go. But when it gets breezy, the front four people, so these guys, very much, they're working at points, they're just heads down, pulling ropes as hard and as fast as possible. So in those situations, sort of helmsman for the event, Chris, he has to take an awful lot of it on himself. Lighter winds, then he'll be getting lots more input, and at different legs, Neil comes free, he's very much heads out, giving good strategic information, and then the next minute he's heads down and it goes back to the helm, sort of taking it on his own.
Are there any further questions? All right, well, thank you so much, guys, for coming and giving us a bit of an insight as to what it's like being you guys, and good luck for the week. I know that a lot of us will be watching from the shore, and we really do wish you the best of luck in the Red Bull Youth America's Cup as well, and the America's Cup.
Thank you.